I came on board in January of this year. I was given the opportunity to come to Sophie end of February.
Doug is awesome. He, he's only been here a short time, but during that time, he's just made a huge impact, not only at Sophie, but within Pinnacle.
I think he's a really great supervisor. He's very kind, and he's taken the time to show me a lot of the industry.
Taking this property over, I stepped in, and at the end of February, beginning of March, I started my delinquency, and WJ, I noticed he hadn't paid his rent for the month of February, so I then started the process with sending a demand letter to his door. I followed up with him about a week later, gave him a call, and he touched my heart the first phone call I had with him. You could hear it in his voice. He was a little shaky. He's 72 years old. He has been here 20 years, so the longevity of it was touching at that point. Hearing his story, he was receiving help from his mother, paying his rent, disclosed to me that his mother had passed away in November. Since November, he only had another month of rent that was paid on his behalf, and when I was explaining the whole eviction process, he kind of shed the tear in the sense of where he knew he was going to be on the streets.
Doug took control of the situation. He contacted me on the phone and said, well, what do we need to do?
I first heard about the story when Jill and Doug called me up and let me know that they had a resident that hadn't paid rent for 4 months. And obviously, you never want to receive that call, but they were very concerned. It was a little bit different situation.
I took it upon myself and actually went to his door. I introduced myself, and he invited me in, and I had an hour conversation in his apartment, and I just told him I was there as a friend and, not on the business standpoint. I really wanted to get to know him and his side and his story. In the middle of his conversations to me, I'm just looking around the apartment, and it was just really scarce. It was just a very sad living situation. I got a little bit more in depth of where you're gonna go, and, he had exhausted his resources, and he really didn't have any opportunities or any advantages to find housing, because his money was so tight. During our conversation, I found out that he was in the military, so I asked him if he had any benefits. He said he had no idea where to start with that.
Honestly, in my 25 plus years in the business, wasn't sure how we were going to handle this, and my immediate was, what can we do? What options do we have? But also, how are we going to tell the owner?
Through the conversation, I had asked him how he's been doing eating, because he hadn't had a reliable car for over a year. And he had told me that he ordered Pizza Hut every Sunday. He would divide the pizza up for 8 slices into 8 different bags and have a slice of pizza a day and Cinesticks. Just not having the right nutrition and the ability to drive somewhere or get proper, necessities and stuff. I was there for about an hour and thanked him for our time, and I said I'm going to do what I can and see what resources I can come up with.
He sent me a text that night, and he was just like, look, I want to pay it forward. And that's just the kind of type of guy that he is. We did have a phone conference with Nick, with Pacific Urban Residential, our asset manager, and he did a little detective work as well. We were trying to find next of kin because we had reached out emergency contact and were unable to get a hold of anybody. I made recommendations as far as reaching out to Catholic Charities. We reached out to Veterans Affairs, different companies. Doug even set up a GoFundMe for this gentleman.
I had left his apartment, and be honest, it broke me down to tears. I had went to our local grocery store, King Soopers, right around the street, and I spent some time over there, and I filled a grocery cart full of all the necessities because I know he's gone without. And so I brought it back, and I personally delivered to his house, and some of my team members here as well had donated some food items, and I brought the food in, and the look and the smile on his face was worth everything.
When he called me and we were discussing the day, of the eviction, I said, Doug, we can't do this. We're gonna have to figure out something. We cannot put WJ, on the street.
And so we had to do something. So you call churches, you call homeless shelters.
at that point really had exhausted all of the charitable opportunities that were in the area, and we really weren't having the results that we wanted. We weren't getting to a situation where we could find the financial resources to get him caught up, the resources to get him to continue to pay his rent on time. So at that point, we really needed to have more dialogue with the owner, and the owners really were great.
Our goal was not to evict a 72-year-old, veteran, put him on the street. So along with Jefferson County Sheriffs and Pinnacle and our ownership company, we all were in agreement to, do the right thing, prolong the process in the event if we could find housing or different accommodations for him. Nick with Pacific Urban, his wife, had a really good connection with Veteran Affairs here in Denver. Got me in touch with a gentleman named Scott, who is the chief of the Veteran Homeless Affairs here. It was that following Tuesday, somebody from the VA came and picked him up and took him down to their office in downtown Denver, and again looked at his benefits and see what he was eligible for. It was a very fast-track process. They put him on a 2-week waiting list to get him into housing, temporary housing, where he could be there anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, really just to get him transitioned so he wouldn't be homeless. I was in good communication with WJ for the next 2 weeks, and seeing how everything was going and still visiting him, and it was kind of bittersweet really when it came down to it. He gave me a call on Friday, the following week later, and said they had called him and he would be transitioning on that following Tuesday. That Monday, May 9th, I went over to his apartment just to check on him and see how he is, and it's a big step. He's moving out of his home for 20 years. It hit home for me just because I had developed such a strong rapport with him. Look forward to seeing him on Tuesdays and Fridays and get his call on Sundays over the last couple months, and knowing that tomorrow is his last day living here.
I would say that this situation could have ended a lot differently. It was Doug's initiative, it was his attitude, his honesty, his willing to really get involved and take this on. And Doug didn't just stop. He really wanted to pay this forward.
Tuesday morning came around, and for the first couple hours of my day, I couldn't concentrate just because I knew, it was down to the last hours of, him, going through this transition. This VA center that he's going to, which is downtown, offers 3 meals a day, his bedding. He has all the support needed for counseling to medical and dental and just stuff he hasn't had.
It was really a joint effort between not only Doug and Jill, which I'm very proud of, but also Nick and Rich and the whole Pacific Urban residential team.
Doug, thank you very much. I can't tell you how proud I am of you, and all I can say is God bless you, and thank you again for all that you did.
The results, in my opinion, I think turned out great.
It's just been probably the best thing that I've had to do in my career of, actually taking it upon myself and just to get to know somebody's story and, doing everything we can, possible to help them out.
It really couldn't have happened unless everybody was willing to really take an interest in WJ, understand what his story was, and really wanting to do the 3 principles that Pinnacle really lives by, which is doing the right thing, treating someone the way you want to be treated, and being humble. Doug really didn't do this for this story to be shared. He did it because he really wanted to help somebody out.